Hey, so anyways, so to be honest with you, like, this is interesting to me because it's fun. It's fun and it's kind of funny. Talking about voting versus non-voting, and the existence of the voting system versus the non-existence. It's very it's interesting to me, just as the existence of God versus the non-existence of God is an interest. It's an interesting debate. These are interesting things, and so since I see a lot of similarity between, like, the existence of the voting system versus non-existence of voting system, I see a lot of similarity with that argument. To the existence of God versus non-existence of God. I want to tell you, and also because I have low subscribership and low views, I feel okay kind of talking about this. Is that just kind of talking about my views on the existence of God versus the non-existence of God. Okay. Maybe I would just give some analogies instead of my personal views, because really, ultimately, it doesn't matter what I believe. If I believe God, whether I'm an atheist or I'm religious / spiritual or agnostic, it doesn't really matter what I personally believe. So, well, let me tell you why it doesn't matter. Is because it's none of my business what you believe. What other people believe is none of my business. And it's the same with voting. Whether a person votes or not is really none of my business. So it doesn't make sense. If it's none of my business whether another person votes or not, well, then it wouldn't make sense for me to be trolling around the internet trying to make other people's business my business. You see what I'm saying? Now, the internet is kind of a place where people can debate on different ideas and stuff, and I suppose there is some value in that. But then we're talking about division too. And so I have a video that's uploading right now where I did kind of go into division. And see, the way to eliminate division isn't by subscribing to other people's views and compromising my own integrity and my beliefs. The way to eliminate division is just to allow other people to think and believe and feel and do as they see fit, and not intervening. There's a Frank Zappa quote that I fucking love and is so true. It's like, and this I believe in down to my core, is that the most important thing that a person can do with their life is to not interfere with someone else's life. And in an ideal world, that's the Frank Zappa quote. And in an ideal world, that's the way people should fucking be, is mind their own business. Is like, so if I lived by that code, that the most important thing that I can do in my life is to not interfere in another person's life. And if everybody lived that way, where everybody just adopted that code in life, then there would be, like, it would probably be a utopia. Arguably, it would be a utopia, because nobody would be interfering with my life, and I wouldn't be interfering with anyone else's life. And if everybody lived like that, well, then there wouldn't be any, there wouldn't be any division, because I'm not interfering with someone else's right to vote. I'm not going over there and telling them like, dude, why are you voting because your vote doesn't count? Well, even whether that's right or wrong, like they have the right to go and vote. They have the right to do that. And I don't really have a right to interfere with their right to vote. I don't. And if everybody would just leave other people alone and stop interfering in other people's lives, well, we probably wouldn't have the majority of the problems that we all face in the world today. But see, that's an ideal world. And of course, we don't live in an ideal world. But like when we're talking about division, it's really, it's so crazy, dude. Like the a person can philosophize on this all day. But yeah, I mean, just like I don't have the right to interfere with someone's right to not vote either. If I'm going around saying all non-voters are stupid, how's that any different than mainstream media? Isn't that why we hate mainstream media? Because mainstream media does stupid shit like that. There's a really fucked up thing going on where people believe that fighting fire with fire is the way to address all this stuff. And it's nothing but a slippery slope, because then you're just as guilty of the people you hate. Like that Jane's Addiction song. I keep getting flashes of Jane's Addiction. I don't know why. They're a pretty decent band, but like some of their lines are just like, are just classic lyrics. Like it reminds me of that line in that Jane's Addiction song where it's like, the man you hate, you look more like him every day. Oh, or whatever. Like if I don't want people interfering with my right to either vote or not vote, to be a voter or a non-voter, well then why would I go around fucking with other people about their right to vote or not vote? So if we want to end division, well then respect other people's rights. A person has a right to vote. A person has a right to not vote. It's the craziest thing. And so I'm not trying to go after the comments or anything like that. And I admit, dude, okay, check this out. Okay, you want to talk about non-voters and non-voting, okay? I was talking with this one guy, right? And I was like curious back in 2020. I was like, are you going to vote? Are you going to vote? I was asking him, what do you think about all this shit? Are you going to vote? And his answer was just totally epic, bro. He's like, dude, you want to know what I think about all this voting shit? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay. If I've already got a boss breathing down my fucking neck trying to tell me what to do and how to live my life, and then I got some fucking bitch, my ex-wife or even my girlfriend that's fucking all trying to tell me what to do and live my life, and then I go to the fucking store and the bitch behind the fucking thing is trying to tell me this and tell me what to do and this and that. And then I got some cop coming up the street fucking trying to tell me this and tell me how to live and tell me what to do. And I got all these people all around me telling me what to do all the time. Why the fuck would I put a vote in to add one more person to the list of people that are going to be telling me what to do and how to live? And I was like, whoa, like this guy is on something here, bro. So again, I'm not against the non-voter. I'm not. Like, that guy broke it down beautifully. How can you argue with that? If I've already am surrounded by all these motherfuckers trying to tell me what to do all fucking day, every fucking day, nonstop nagging, telling me I can't walk on this sidewalk because of this, and I can't walk across the street because it's not on the crosswalk here, and I need to fucking, why didn't I turn my blinker on here? And I got all these fucking people, my boss, all day, 8 hours a day, telling me what to do. Why the fuck When I go down to the fucking thing to put in a ballot to fucking vote in one more motherfucker that's telling me what to do and how to live my life and what I should and shouldn't be doing. Okay, I'm not opposed to the non-voter, dude. Like, I totally get it. Now, is that proof? Is that proof that people shouldn't vote? Not really. Is it a pretty good argument as to why a person wouldn't vote? Most definitely, right? You know, it's really a personal thing. It's a personal thing. So I'll drop some more shit that I've discovered, gems that I've discovered. This one line is it says, it doesn't matter what a person believes. It's what a person does. 100%. It does not matter what a person believes. It's what a person does that matters. So it doesn't matter if you believe that the voting system is real or it's rigged. It doesn't matter. What matters is what a person does. A person can go on and say that the voting system is fake and rigged and all this shit, and that everybody that votes is stupid, and then then they're at home beating their wife and kicking the fucking dog, and they're a total scumbag piece of shit. It doesn't matter what a person believes. It's what a person does. Even if the person that votes is wrong in voting, well, first of all, it's not hurting anybody. And that person that's voting could be better than the apolitical person who's behind the keyboard saying everybody that votes is stupid, and then they're fucking kicking the dog and beating the old lady and shit, and they're a total cockroach scumbag. You know? It doesn't matter what a person believes. It's what a person does. Just like with the God versus the atheist. What does it matter what they believe? Say you got somebody that's going on and on, their whole channel is about God, and they have this YouTube channel, and they're like, you know, God is real, and that's their channel. But at home, it's the same thing. They're fucking kicking the dog, beating the old lady, watching tranny porn or whatever, you name it, whatever. Again, what good are they doing? If they've got some channel saying God is real and you need to believe in God and God, and then but you don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and they're kicking the dog and beating the fucking old lady and and doing all this crazy shit. But they got a YouTube channel that's like everybody's renowned YouTube channel, and it's all about believing in God. It's not what you believe, it's what you do. And it's the same with the voting system. It's not what people believe. What do they do? You know? Just because a person believes that their vote might count. See, it's a lie to say that all voters are stupid. Like, if you believe the statement that all voters are stupid, dude, you really are not. You don't know what the fuck is going on in reality, man. Like, I know people that are very intelligent that vote, and that vote stupidly. Now, you might say any vote is a stupid vote, but I'm telling you, you don't think there's people out there that vote that are smarter than you? Come on. If you answer that question honestly, you'll have to admit, yes, I'm sure there are people that vote that are smarter than you. Well, then all people that vote aren't stupid. Again, it doesn't matter what you believe. It's what you do. Here's another thing. Believe it or not, even the Bible says this. Okay, so let's talk for a moment about call for an uprising. From what I gather, I've watched a decent amount of his stuff, but not in a while. But lately, his videos I really like because he's trying to expose witch cults and shit, which I agree. And a lot of it is because of what happened to me 2 years ago. I'm like, dude, this is important shit. And I'm glad there's somebody trying to fucking get this out there, you know. Okay. From what I believe, to understand. I think that Call for an Uprising believes in God and even Jesus and the Bible. Well, dude, the Bible, dude, there's a line in the Bible that says it compares the religious man who wears the big robe and the big cross and is walking down the street telling everybody with the big sign, you know, Jesus and God is real, and they're wearing all the religious shit. And in the Bible, it compares that guy to a guy that's not doing that. And in fact, not only is he not wearing a big gown with a big sign that says God is real and a big cross and making a big dramatic, thing about it. Not only is he not doing that, it describes him as would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously, saying, Lord, be merciful unto me, a sinner. So he would not so much as even look to heaven, but beat his breast continually, saying, Lord, be merciful unto me, a sinner. Now, if you were to, that's a very cryptic phrase. Like, what does that mean? That a person would not so much as look to heaven. First of all, what does that mean? Not so much as look to heaven. That's cryptic. That's not really clear. That requires some meditation and thought to think about, what does that mean when the Bible is describing this person as someone who would not so much as look to heaven. Okay, and then it goes on, would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously. So, he was literally, beating his breast? What does all this mean? And the conclusion is that God favored that person more than the guy with the big robe and the big cross and the big sign telling everybody that God is real, and God didn't care for him at all. It's like, this guy's a fucking idiot. And looked at the guy who would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously, saying, Lord, be merciful unto me, a sinner. And on the surface level, you might relate that as, well, he believed in God, but he wasn't bragging about it. And that could be an interpretation of it. But you think about it. First of all, why does it say he would not so much as look to heaven? One interpretation of that could be that he didn't really believe in God. He didn't believe in God. He would not so much as look to heaven. He was an atheist. He didn't believe in God. But, because that's what it says, he would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously. And so what does that mean, beat his breast continuously? Because I don't know about you, but the first thing that comes to my mind when I read beat his breast continuously means that he was just hitting his chest, constantly hitting his chest. And when I thought about that, I thought, I don't think it means that. I think it's more of an allegory. It's more cryptic. It requires more thought than just reading the surface and interpreting it as he was just pounding his chest. Which makes me reflect back on the previous verse that says he would not so much as look to heaven. What does that mean? Does that mean that he was literally wouldn't look up and he was looking down, pounding his chest? And I would say it probably didn't mean the literal sense that he wouldn't look to the skies and that he was physically hitting himself. What it meant is, would not so much as look to heaven means he didn't believe in God. Whether it was because he was unaware of the concept of God, or for whatever reason, he didn't believe in God. That's one, practical interpretation is that when it says he would not so much as look to heaven, it means that he didn't believe in God. And one reason you can one thing to support the possibility of that interpretation is the next verse that says, but would beat his breast continuously. And so my first thought is he's punching himself in the chest? And then you're like, well, what does all this mean? So I got a dictionary out, because I started wondering, like I'm saying, sometimes these things require thought and time, even though it's just a couple lines. Really think about that. Would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously, and saying, Lord, be merciful unto me, a sinner. So why would I spend all this time like trying to figure out what this means? Well, because that was the person that God favored, not the person in all the religious garb and the big religious robes with swaying the big cross and yelling at everybody, God, God, God. God doesn't like that guy. God favors the guy who would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously, saying, Lord, be merciful unto me, a sinner. So I'm very curious about this guy who would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously. That's why I was trying to interpret it, because I want to be favored by God rather than not, right? So I'm like, well, what does this mean? So he wouldn't so much as look to heaven. What does that even mean? And could it be a kind of a cryptic verse that requires some thought and maybe even getting a dictionary out and really considering that? Especially since the next phrase is even more absurd, that he was just pounding his chest with his fist nonstop. It can't mean that. So it has to be that this is kind of more of an allegory than a literal thing. So if I look at it from an allegorical sense, well, not so much as look to heaven, kind of would seem like it might mean that he doesn't really believe in God, would not so much as look to heaven. Could be interpreted as that he doesn't really believe in God. But, because that's the next word, but, would not so much as look to heaven, but beat his breast continuously. And if it doesn't mean that he's physically hitting his chest, what could it mean? So I got out the dictionary and I looked up the word beat. Well, one definition of the word beat is to seek, or actually past tense, sought. To seek or search, or in the past tense, had sought. Beat, and then so the next word was breast. Well, if he was seeking something, and the next word is breast, I looked up the word breast. What is breast? Well, one definition of the word breast is heart. And then that makes a lot more sense. Would not so much as look to heaven, but sought his heart continuously. So does it mean that he was physically hitting his chest continuously? Or did it mean that he sought his heart continuously? My